So.
You guys didn't get the memo about polo shirts.
I'm sorry, you know, but I got a blue.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm gonna open the meeting up So please join us for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council person Marcus Mendez.
Here we go.
Bob, Mr. Wages.
Here.
Councilman Slam.
Here.
Vice Lightfoot.
So, first up, we have moved to approve the meeting minutes of April 10th and April 17th.
I'll move that.
I'll second.
Council person Marcus Mendez.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, and then the first public hearing we have is for the local law repealing and replacing chapter 155 entitled Flood Damage Prevention. And this has to do with the new FEMA flood maps that came out. And we're required to make these amendments so that we're basically by the federal government in order for people to qualify for assistance.
This is repealing the old maps and accepting the new ones.
It's not the maps, it's yeah, right, you want,
The rules that apply to these,
it applies to,
the firms are new and they're gonna be adopted and effective as of June 18th, I believe. So our law now has to align with that and adopting the new set of flood maps. So there were some expanded areas and some contracted areas, so some people are now, their land is newly inside the floodplain, some are outside the floodplain. We've also, in our law, adopted we used the basic DEC model law, but adopted some of the optional components like a provision where no critical facilities would be built within a floodplain. Other provisions are all about repetitive events where if you have multiple events of flood incidents, you'd all count that towards your cumulative 50%. And once you're 50% damaged property, then you have to comply to new standards. You can't keep on repeating the same mistake over and over.
Okay, but it is accepting the new lines. You just mentioned.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, you can move that.
well, we go through seeker and
Yeah.
the comment on it.
The whole.
So, is there anybody here to comment on that right now? Sure. Marty, how are you?
Good evening. My name is Marty Mosley. I live in the town of Dryden. Just a clarifying point, the cumulative, is that being adopted as part of it? Okay, so I believe that has to go to New York State Codes Council for a more restrictive local standard. So you have to go and actually file and petition the state for a more restrictive local standard on that.
We've already sent it to them and we've already replied. And so
To the Codes Council of New York State,
Yeah,
the Building Standards and Codes Division.
Department of State, we submitted.
Right, but one of the trainings that I was on,
Okay.
the DEC identified that if we apply some of those, it's more stringent than the uniform code coming out in 2024.
Mhm.
And so we actually have to go to the New York State Codes Council because it's more restrictive than the New York State Residential Code. And then we actually have to petition the State Codes Council to have a more restrictive local standard per municipality. Just so you're aware.
Okay.
That's my understanding of what was told to me. So just, take it or leave it, but it's up to you.
And what training was that?
It was put in by the DEC. I don't remember exactly when. I don't know if Ray attended that one or not.
No.
I've been to 3 or 4 of them. And I know that they identified that they had to align, and if it was more restrictive than the building codes that are coming out, then we would have to go to the New York State Codes Council to have that more restrictive local standard approved in that fashion. So you'd have to appear, you'd have to petition the state, you'd have to identify, and I'll make it my terminology, why you're a special community and differ from other communities in the area. So they have criteria established. Now, energy code is a little different.
I know we had to send this to DEC before doing it.
This one's gonna be different. This one will be over to the Building Standards and Codes Division. So you
Yeah.
still file with the DEC, but then you'd also have to file it over with the Standards and Codes Division as well. because it doesn't align with the building code and because the building code, actually, the 2024 building code has a sea level rise integrated into it, so it's 2 feet above floodplain, and then it's 18 inches additional sea level rise. I've been reviewing some of the proposed modifications. So it's a little different than what is gonna be in your flood damage prevention law anyways.
Huh.
So it's gonna be more restrictive as it is, but you can't be less restrictive than the building code and the residential code in New York State. Is what the DEC had told me
Okay.
during some of the conversations and the trainings that I went to so far.
All right, just so I'm saying, you're saying that this federal FEMA map system is less restrictive than building codes.
The local language that you're looking at to adopt, not the FEMA maps, but the local law language that will then integrate with your FEMA maps, yes.
Okay. Well, if there's more stringent from codes, that'll supersede our local law.
No, right, but if your local code is more stringent than the building code or the uniform code in any manner, then you actually have to petition the state building code standards and the codes council of New York State, and they have to approve you for that.
Okay.
So there's a petitioning and a filing. The filing is dealing with the energy code provisions and the petition is dealing with everything else that could affect anything except for the energy code.
Huh. Okay, it's interesting because we're using their model language.
Right, so the municipalities, I won't name municipalities in particular, but other municipalities were looking at the optional language that you looked at to see if it did coincide with the uniform code in particular. And if it was more stringent or not.
Okay.
So, because there's some nuances in the 2024 proposed code is dealing with the 500-year flood and elevations, dealing with 500-year flood areas. With respect to that, where your local laws that municipalities are adopting per New York State and FEMA are not dealing with the 500 years much. So again, more restrictive on the New York State side with the codes that will be adopted. But if it's more restrictive on the local side, then you'd have to petition the codes council to get approval for it.
Okay. Thanks for the heads up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So is that something you'll work on or who
Yeah,
takes care of
yeah.
obtaining the codes council?
Yep, we'll prepare a petition to the codes council.
Okay.
Because these things make sense, so it's, yeah. I have to get a lot more research on it. I wasn't aware of this conflict.
So basically, it's another case of one department not talking to the other.
And making work for us.
While requiring
Not
us to
understandable.
adopt the stuff that they have. Really? Makes sense. Okay. Is there anybody else here who has anything to comment on this? I don't see anybody online except for us, so.
Marty, did you come here just to tell us that?
I did not.
Oh,
With information
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's this material, the bonus track.
Yeah. All right.
So what comes first, passing the law or?
So technically, you'd have to pass the law within 30 days. You'd have to file a petition with the codes council, and then you'd have to provide all that information, and then they would then put you on a docket for a public hearing, and you'd appear in front of the codes council to plead your case.
This is similar to when we adopted stretch, right?
Stretch is different. Stretch is a petition. So the only thing you do with stretch, because it's energy code and under a different law, is you had to show that you're more stringent than the energy code. This is getting into everything else of the building code and residential code. And this actually, you have to show significant value on why your community stands out from, I'll pick out some names, Lansing, Varna, or not Varna, sorry, Virgil, Ithaca. You know, you're gonna have to identify why your community deserves to be that special community. Maybe you have special flood areas that are in effect and you've had repetitive damage, but you probably have to prove that to the codes council. So they're gonna look for data from you, basically. Petitioning is not, the city of Ithaca has failed petitions at least twice in the last 15 years roughly. They had some plumbing items they tried to go through before that are prohibited in the plumbing code. They wanted to have those and they were denied on those fronts.
Okay.
So that's why I say it's a fairly high bar. I know some communities that have tried to get residential sprinklers, for instance, and they were denied on that front because they couldn't show significant values on why they deserve to have those.
Okay.
So petitioning
If
is,
that's the petitioning, then we would remove
That's
that portion.
that's correct.
Okay. Because I think we want to act on this tonight because we want, make sure we're in line with our
Clock.
June 18th floor last.
Yeah, and I think you can find the petitioning documents right on the Building Standards and Codes Division website.
Okay.
And flooding is a community problem, so.
Yeah, no doubt. Disagreement on that. Just making you aware of maybe some extra hoops that you might have to jump through,
Yeah.
so.
Alright. So I'll leave that open for the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm like, well. We can come back to that.
We can go on to the next and then come back to this after.
Yeah, alright. So then I'm gonna open up the public hearing now then for. The special use permit application for 2150 Dryden Road, it's auto repair garage.
Yep. So this is the real reason why Marty is here tonight. There is a application in for a automobile repair garage at the 2150 Dryden Road property. This is where the solar facilities are located behind the cemetery. It was introduced last month and we have a public hearing tonight. This has been seen before the planning board and will likely be seen again by the planning board. But I wanted to get a public hearing going in case there were any other concerns raised by anyone else in the community.
Sure. So again, I'm Marty Mosley. My company is Municipal Relations Consulting, just for clarity purposes, and I'm representing the applicant, which and the owner, which are behind me, right here. Sure. So the gentleman is running a automotive repair shop in the existing building that was previously an agricultural building with, I believe it was RPM at the time. He was made aware that he's in violation of the codes, and that's why he's going through the process he is now, as far as not obtaining his special use permit and obtaining site plan approval. So, Emil is the gentleman's name, which is off to the right of me. His lease area is about 2.15 acres. The address is 2150 Dryden Road, which is slightly confusing because there's several parcels identified that. So eventually we'll get through the process, hopefully, and obtain a new address, so it's a little bit more clear. We've gone through and bulleted the town code, dealing with parking spaces. If you look at the site plan, we've identified in various colors the parking areas versus the repair service waiting areas versus the handicap areas. There's a sheet, I believe it's on page 11, so there's a yellow area identifying a 83 foot by 24 foot width of 9 vehicle spaces. Another 111 feet by 18 feet, which is 12 vehicle spaces. We did get some comments from the fire chief about access, and so we could move the vehicle parking spaces to the lot directly below the storage building. So if you look at the main building, which kind of it has a little bump out on it, that would be the automotive repair garage. And then there's a storage building that's right next to it. And then there's a vacant parking area that's in existence. So some of the items we've been discussing ourselves was moving the repair kind of waiting area down into that vacant area to give the fire department more access to the building. We also have been in contact with TG Miller and Ray's department about the vehicle access, because the fire chief has identified concerns about vehicle access. So we're getting some cross sections of what a private road would be considered, so we can beef up that roadway or that private drive into a roadway. And that way it can be considered a higher level terrain. And so we'll be reaching out to the fire chief to specifically ask exactly what he's looking for to submit amended plans. We also have a engineer that we're starting to work with as well, so that we can bring them on board for stormwater issues that we'll be submitting as well. Or the plan as well. The automotive repair garage is roughly 950 feet to the residential parcel, of course, the residential parcel. It's about 1,200 feet, and these are in straight lines. But that is to Dryden Road, or 1,500 feet to Dryden Road, my apologies. And it's about 1,200 feet to Johnson Road. Under seeker, I know you're the lead agency, so I defer to you ultimately. But in reviewing seeker 617.5 subsection 18 appears to identify that it would be a reuse of a residential or commercial structure. So in that situation, it wouldn't technically go through seeker, it would be in a type 2 action in that situation. And then just in the area, there, I believe, are 3 other repair garages that we've identified. And then there's a slew of other commercial uses like Finger Lakes Dermatology. There's a cemetery, there's Green Team Lawn, Dryden Animal Clinic. There's the Dryden Rent-A-Space. So we've identified all the uses in the area as well to show compatibility. I don't know if you have any questions for us at this time.
So just for clarity's sake, to succinctly capture it, the concerns regarding the road and any wetlands has been handled?
No, that's on our list to take care of.
Okay,
So as soon as we can figure out exactly what the fire department wants, meaning if they want a 500, if they want a terminal every 500 feet, we need to understand the impact that would have first before we approach the DEC and
Okay.
talk about the wetlands. So we have a slew of lists from the planning board, and that is one of the items on the list of items that we're going to be looking at.
fantastic.
How close is the nearest residential home?
I believe it's about 950 feet. I think on page
It's close to 10.
8, there's some measurements. 886 feet roughly, and that's measured from the building, not from the parcel area. So from the storage building
Yeah.
to the parcel boundary of the residential area, it's about 886 feet. View shed wise, very hard to see this because of the distance it is off the road and because it's completely surrounded by solar fields. Very difficult to see from George Road, from Route 13.
And have the neighbors, have these residences had any notification of this project, any feedback?
Yeah, they received notice for the hearing tonight, so.
Okay, great.
I don't see any.
And the hours of operation are those,
Roughly 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. So although he says he normally starts a little bit after 8 o'clock in the morning, he doesn't normally start about 8. He's by appointment only, is what he explained to the planning board as well. So he doesn't have people that just pop in and just want a car fixed. So he's a by appointment only type garage.
is that right?
And then we also did provide some proposed like vehicle traffic information as well, just about the impact that it could have. So I believe that was based on the 10th edition of the Institute of Transportation Engineers, Common Trip Generation, peak hours. So it shows there's about 3.11 trips per 1,000 square feet. So you're into, roughly about 11.47 trips at peak time.
I see the bullet point now, sorry, I didn't see it. earlier.
Oh, you're absolutely.
Hours of operation, so
Yeah.
that's great, that's stipulated.
Is that in the narrative part?
Yes,
The
it
narrative.
is. That's correct. I believe it, and I apologize, I didn't remember my narratives. believe it'd be the fourth page, even though it's not numbered. Or fifth, my apologies, fifth. It's right before subnote E.
Really, copy that.
Yeah, right there.
Emil, are you aware that we have a business loan fund here to help small businesses grow?
I'm not aware of that.
But just wanted to point that out, that, you know, we have a lending fund here for businesses that are gonna create jobs, basically low and middle income level jobs, and probably up to about 100,000. The size of the loan, so if you wanted to take out a low interest loan from the town of Dryden, we've got a
There could be
We've got-
possibility down in the future. Right now, my main priority is to get this fixed, so that way I can operate freely and
okay,
move forward.
yeah, well, we're glad to hear about your project, at least I am.
Where do I get this information?
It's on our website on, I believe it's on the planning.
Yeah.
On the planning department website.
Okay.
So
You know,
And we-
talking about it.
Okay.
we've used it recently and we know it works.
I usually, I'm the type of person that doesn't take loans, doesn't take banks, credits and stuff. Everything I do is usually, I try to, if I can't do it, then I don't do it.
I respect, sure,
But definitely an option. Cause I wanna have employees in the future and more equipment and all
Yeah.
that.
it could be used for that.
Absolutely.
Does anybody from the public here have any any comments or questions? Or anybody online?
So I would expect that the planning board will continue to do site plan review and get more of these questions like the driveway and things established. Before we could really entertain a seeker review.
Okay,
And signage, I would imagine,
there'd have to be.
Yeah, that was a question by the planning board as well, so Emil's working on some signage proposals as well as the next package that comes through.
that sounds reasonable.
Yeah, there's already existing poles sticking out of the ground that used to be used for signage, and I'm hoping once I get approved, I can get fix it up and put an actual sign in there. And I was actually approached by one of the reps for the oil company that I use for most of the vehicles, and they said, we'll be happy to build you a sign if you put her saying that you use our oil type of thing.
Nice.
So I'm like, okay, whatever,
What type of oil do you use?
liquid moly.
Okay.
Okay, so the planning board's supposed to go over this again?
Yeah, because there's gonna be a lot of adjustments to the driveway especially. That's one of the major issues on this. And also the parking areas. I mean,
Yeah,
there's some
so we just,
access issues to get around the building with
Right.
fire trucks.
So the email actually reached us today, so I quickly reviewed it on my lunch and thought it over, and ideally, it doesn't make any difference to me where the vehicles sit. So on the pad that you saw down there, it's like I calculated and I can fit all the cars there without obstruction of any sort. So if emergency vehicle does need to approach the building, there's gonna be a clean path for it, and then there's actually a nice section where if they have to back out, they can do a little K-turn and come out and go the other way.
Yeah.
So apparently there's 150 foot. They need to be within 150 feet of the building, and there's plenty of that if I move all the vehicles down there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it's adjustments like that.
Yeah.
okay,
Is this mostly mechanical, or are you gonna do restoration,
No.
painting, anything like that? Just mechanical?
I don't have patience for paint.
I hear you.
alright, so we can't even do seeker until planning board.
Right, because we don't have the final site plan. I think it's gonna be some changes
Okay.
there.
So I guess let's keep this open till June. Well,
Okay,
the second June meeting is,
June 19th, I believe.
yep,
And then we can close it.
yeah,
Approve it.
yeah, because we have, I mean, if there's gonna potentially be changes, so I can't close the public hearing. So, okay,
June 19th,
yep,
6:05.
Ray will let us know.
Okay,
yeah.
that's the
Yeah,
reason I
so
had it.
planning board's taking this
Yeah,
up.
me today, so,
Different board.
okay.
So, but planning board's looking at it again this month.
Next Thursday night.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right,
What are you going to call it?
Excuse me,
What are you going to call the business?
Speedline Garage,
Speedline Garage.
it's something I had for a while and
That's right.
I like it.
Speedline.
so does the county need to look at this again then? Planning board's looking,
Well, they got an initial look at it. It's a matter of if there's substantial changes in the site plan, then they
all right,
probably want another look, but
so,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, right now we'll have it on for the 19th, but. If it has to go back to the county, that might change.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's an additional 30 days and we understand that.
Okay, all right,
You have a business in Cortland right now, is that?
I did. I relocated from Portland to Dryden because it's closer to home. I live on Lake Road, so it's literally 5 minutes,
I think I called you last fall about working on a TDI, a diesel.
maybe.
Yeah,
I do mainly Audis and Volkswagen.
I know. Not many people like to work on diesel, but I think you referred me somewhere else, which is probably.
Probably. Very dirty car.
Eli, it just stuck in my head and I thought,
Yeah.
I know I've called.
See? Good name.
Mhm.
Okay, well, we'll see you in June then.
yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
okay, so we'll go back to the other. Public hearing, I'm gonna, unless there's any more comment on the, local law, regarding flood damage prevention, and I close the public hearing on that. Right. That's what I have on the screen is the part 2 and 3 of the FEA app. Is this the correct version of it?
Well, yeah, you didn't, what Nate forwarded was just the blank form, not a drafted form.
Okay,
So the 18 areas of impact are here with a law. It's, it's really not suited to reviewing a law, but we have to run through that process.
right,
And of those 18 areas, floodplain impacts are probably affecting land and water but not air and not really
Yeah.
character.
I mean, the impact on, all right, so we'll just start off with number 1, impact on land. And I don't think it will. It's a local law.
But that,
It's the first one is impact on land, proposed action may involve construction on or physical alteration of land. It's a law, local laws. It's gonna be,
yeah, it's really hard to
It's-
just seek a review on local law, but
has any.
Big no.
Same with geological features
Nope.
and surface water. I mean,
Well, you're promulgating an act here that is dealing with the floodplain, construction in the floodplain, so I think there are impacts in water and land, but they are positive impacts, or, no or minimal impacts. That's what makes the
Yeah.
eco review kind of odd.
Contingent on some proposal coming along that matters.
Yeah, but people are gonna come in for building permits and administrative acts, so that's not gonna.
Are they? We don't know that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, the point is, so that doesn't, so there isn't an effect on these things.
No.
But there isn't an impact.
Yeah, I mean, the point of passing it, so there is no impact on the wetlands or ponds and things like that. So I would think it'd be a no, I guess. Not the impact on groundwater, it's not resulting in new or additional use. So, or introducing contaminants. Impact on flooding. Mayor says may result in development on land subject to flooding. That's probably a yes. And then,
There's two ways of thinking about it. It's protective of the floodplain. You'll have less impact on flooding as a result. So there's an impact, I would say, but it's all in a positive direction.
well, it's probably like yes, but it's no or small.
Mhm.
Because if it knock no, they don't answer anything.
Wasn't the whole point to avoid structures that are impacted by flooding?
Mhm.
Yeah, but
It makes sense
sets
to elevate out of the flood.
standards. If they do, then there's gotta be certain things that have to be elevated. And then it's not gonna have an impact on air. On plants and animals. I don't think so. Especially that, no crustaceans. And ag resources, I don't think so. On aesthetic resources, it's probably a no.
No.
Impacting historic or archaeological resources, I don't think so. I think it'll have any impact. Open space or recreation. They don't have any critical environmental areas, so that's a no. Transportation. I don't think so. Same with energy. Noise, odor, and light. I don't think it's gonna increase any of that. Don't think it would have any impact on health, because
Only in a positive way.
Hmm.
Only in a positive way.
Hoped.
Consistency, I mean, it is consistent with the community plan.
Wouldn't that be a yes?
No, it'd be a no, because the way they read the proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans. Yeah, it's bizarro English. Um, Consistency,
Nope.
yeah. So, yeah,
That's it, page 10 and 10.
yeah, that would be it. Okay. So. I will move the resolution. Um. it's for a negative declaration of significant environmental impact. Said the title of the resolution is resolution regarding a determination of the type of action and significance under the State Environmental Quality Review Act for a proposed local law. So it's a negative declaration, but it's a type 1. Yeah,
Yep, type 1 action.
so I'll move this.
Second.
Councilperson Martin.
Yes.
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 Yes. And then there's the resolution to approve local law number 4/2025, and that's the adoption of it's a local law repealing and replacing chapter 155 entitled flood damage prevention. So I'll move that.
Second.
Councilperson Martin.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right. Okay. Yes, really, I'll just sign that after the.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
So next up, I mean, I guess one announcement would be was it Alice who sent us thing about Jim Shug Trail just being listed as one of the best trails in upstate, so or Finger Lakes area, so that's all Rick and his guys. So yeah, it'll end up in the newsletter. There was something that came out in the trail publication end of April.
Life in the Finger Lakes,
Yeah.
this trail.
Yep. So anyway, that'll show up in the newsletter for June. Yeah, June. Yeah, did you wanna, anything for?
Very quick. We paved Watrous Road today, which was on the 284. We finally found a little weather that we could get some paving in. New parts for the paver we fixed over the winter, works very well. In good shape. We've prepped Doug Road. We had to fix some of the pretty good sized washout. If you come off Beam Hill Road down Doug Road, we had to put the Jersey barriers, block it up, stone it. We've got that set. We'll probably pave that next. Still waiting to hear from the governor on how much money we're gonna get. Apparently it's 50 million extra, but it is divided within 1,500 towns and villages, so I don't know how much more we're gonna get, but we got, it's a little bit more than last year, not a lot. There's a guy building a house up on Fire Tower Road, which is up off of TN Road. That we're gonna be up there next week. I borrowed a bulldozer from Town of Ithaca. We're gonna try to get the road the rest of the way in there for it, so that. I mean, as a then moving, build a house out there, we have to make it accessible for fire and aid build, stuff like that. And the Town of Ithaca is loaning me their dozer, so if everyone wants to come out and push some stuff over, come on up. It'll be fun. We've got the gas lines installed for both the generators. I'll get a hold of the guy that's doing the generators. He'll be able to put them in now for the pods for the internet. Nice thing is finally got the gas lines hooked to it. And other than that, I talked to Jason about the lease. Nice thing's putting up a more secure fence. Usually the gate's left open for years. It's been open. Now they're securing the building. I don't know if there's a federal law that they have to or not, but we're trying to, we gotta get the lease redone for the tank set. And we need 24-hour access to it in case there's a leak or a pipe break or what have you, along with Bolton Point. So we've gotta, probably ought to at least have rights to be there before we go yelling at them. So. Our snowplow cleanup is done. Other than that, I'm not spending any money today. Look at him smile, I said I'm not spending money, he's happy.
Hey, I got a couple questions and a comment. How's that Silverado truck, the EV? Is that something you guys are using much? Or how's that working out?
We run to Syracuse with get parts, the parts guys driving around all over and. I haven't driven it yet in the summer, I drove it in the winter
Yeah,
and. It's. Runs out of juice pretty quick when it's really cold.
what's the range?
I don't know. It tells you, but
Yeah.
I don't, there's you gotta, there's a lot of things on there you can do. You can sit back and take your hands off the wheels and as long as they can see your eyes and it's, I don't trust it. Some of these guys do, I don't.
Don't do that.
You put it on cruise at 55, so I've tried it. We're leery of it, but I came up from Cinema Drive. And I was like about 13, the light changed. I put my foot over the brake, I didn't touch it, I was waiting to see if it would do it. And it stopped. And then it went when the cars did, so,
I gotta check it out.
well, take it for a ride.
I'd love to. The other thing I wanted to mention is I was talking to some residents who were really pleased with your work clearing a drain on Dutcher Road. Apparently you didn't, it was really the county's responsibility, but you went ahead and cleared it.
Yeah.
And they were pretty grateful.
Well, it's,
They said
like I
nice
said, we
things
work
about
with the
you.
county too, and
Yeah.
they helped us, we helped them, and we were closer, and I had the grade out there, so I called the guys and scored a pull it.
Nice.
The county's gonna have to do something, they're hard at work there, blocking it again,
Yeah.
so. Somebody's gotta trap those beavers out of there, but that's the county's issue, I don't mind, we pull the rack and stuff like that.
Are they repaving North?
They
Road?
stone roll it,
Yeah, I know, but is that it?
Yeah.
Are they doing more?
no, that's it. Let's strike that,
So,
once it gets pounded in the ground, they sweep it off and then they'll strike the road again, but. That's about all they're doing. One thing is, I got a thing from Todd Bettner, I'm pretty sure he'll probably let everybody know, I don't know if he emailed it out. But the quantum engineering students.
yeah,
Finished up the project, the cost evaluation and stuff for the bridge. And Pickney Road. On the trail, by the night through the nice
oh, yeah.
hole there. So. Once he gets all the information of the board, it looks like we'll probably move forward. It was under the amount of. The grant, I believe the grant was more money than what the bridge is gonna cost, so.
Yeah.
I think we'll probably, once you guys look at everything, we'll move forward with.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about that.
That's
And that
fantastic.
we're getting all this.
Alice was on the phone, she went to, is she on here? No, but she apparently knew the guy that did the. Storage facility, the fence is technically on the right of way. And she's talked to him, apparently there's no issues, he'll have it moved, we'll move it, somebody's gonna move it. There'll be some tree work down there, and obviously, once all the information is put to you guys. You'll let me know what we can do, and what we, there's a lot that we can do. We can probably help set the girders, we can form the concrete pads. The engineers did a nice job, they got the whole way out and
Yeah,
so. That is something that hopefully we're gonna try to get to this year, and I think it'd be nice.
it'd be a great looking bridge. Anyone wondering what it looks like? Similar to the bridge at Flat Rock.
Oh, fun.
Yeah,
It's gonna be kind of a iconic little bridge.
so we just gotta change some elevations, some grades, maybe while I've got this dozer, if he's let me borrow, I'll probably go over there and do some of that, but. I think it'll be something that, it'll look pretty good, we've gotta. Got some trees down, move some things back and stone, or not stone, put some iron floor on, put the stone dust on it, and it'll look like the trail, so.
Very exciting.
I'm sure that, well, you've probably seen the email and the design of it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So Todd will probably get that out to us you soon, once we get the rest of the stuff worked out with it, so.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Anything else? We good?
No.
Guys, have a good night.
Thank you.
You too. And then. Ray, do you have any of your reports?
Yeah, just one thing I'll call the report is the Safe Streets for All. We entered into a multi municipal agreement to go ahead and make these safety action plans, got a grant for it. So they're in final draft stage, out for comment right now, and hopefully it'll be finalized sometime in June, so we can adopt that. Unfortunately, the grant deadline for using these to as a support for projects, actual construction projects, that's also in June, so we're not going to make it this year. But we'll have a safety action plan in place for next year's cycle. And then also just want to report on the Route 13 pedestrian bridge. We got a bid opening last week, but we don't have a full evaluation by Erdman Anthony of the various proposals, so that is still awaiting.
Okay.
And what stage are we at for the bridge in Varna?
Freeze Road Bridge?
Yeah,
I don't know. You would have more.
We're waiting for another report to be filed with New York State Cultural Affairs, something called HAER.
Another one?
Yeah.
cultural affairs.
Yeah. There's a lot. Oh,
No, I understand that. I just,
This is
I'm
about.
surprised by that.
Like wish for a dojing to happen.
so that, I contacted our consultant earlier this month just to prod them a little, and they said, don't worry, it's on track. We're gonna get this information to DOT this month, and then they'll review it, and hopefully by, I think, end of June, we should be ready to put it to bid.
Okay.
So we'll be able to get a bridge built before there's flying cars.
Then we have to go into the design. The bridge won't go until next year. Maybe
That's just a-
some removal late in the fall. If it's not too cold.
Yeah.
That's my expectation. Maybe start removing it late in the fall.
Cultural affairs would be showing my notes. Okay.
But the time frame is still to get it completed in 26.
Okay. Just curious.
Okay.
Oh, we're all curious. I haven't forgotten it.
5 years.
I was just asking.
Yeah.
No, you should ask. We all get asked about it, so it just.
That's why.
Just
I got asked multiple times this week, so I'm just curious.
Yeah. Like when's the bridge gonna be built? Okay.
We could hang a rope and people could swing across.
You could have a Cornell engineering team design something to go in there.
It's probably done quicker. Okay. All right, so next up, we have David. Good evening.
Could you allow me to share my screen?
Yep.
Was Dan just tisking me?
I was just giving you no, I was giving you go, go, go.
All right, we'll try to share my screen now. Perfect. Is Rick still there?
No,
Yeah, everybody's still here.
No, Rick,
Rick.
Oh, Rick.
left.
Oh, no, Rick left. So-
do you need him? We'll go get him.
No, but I am going to share something that he might want to.
Mm, On the cell.
I will follow up with him. All right, so to give a report, I have seen you a couple times since the month of April, so some of the stuff you've heard already. This is a slight update to what I sent out by email a few weeks ago that's in the board packet, so I'll send the new version after today's meeting. As always, this is about 15 or 20 pages, but I'm just going to hit the summary on the first two slides. So the first is that in the month of April, Vantage, our new engineering firm, did a site visit with their project lead, Brad Penny. We looked at basically everything that we could see with the MIP project as well as all of our MDUs and special location projects within the town for Dryden Fiber, as well as all of Caroline while he was here. He was here for about 3 days. After we visited all these spots, we gave him a good idea of what they were looking at. You can learn a lot from the spreadsheets and from Google Street View and Google Earth, but being here on the ground and seeing what's available, where the telephone poles are, very impactful to the project. So we did construction. We looked at all the POPs as well as the central office. We drove around to some of the different multiple dwelling units. We looked at the mobile home parks across the entire town of Dryden, from Etna to Mott Road to in the village, as well as some other challenging install areas. We talked about different phases going forward. So by this time next month, we'll have a breakout of the entire project into 6 major phases. And while we're defining those and putting timelines around those, we've already started to work on 2 of those. So we're moving this project from a lot of things that have to happen to organization around these 6 main phases. Then finally, while they were here in person, we met with Amanda and looked at the schedule as well as the budget and the financing to know what the spending would be for MIP and how it would flow through the project as guided by Vantage. Following that, any questions on Vantage site visit? Okay. Following that, the municipal infrastructure program, I drafted an update. We're still awaiting final confirmation from New York State on the final locations. They presented us 2,760 locations last year that we signed on to. Then we added 60 more locations. There are about 24 questionable locations. The data that we used to apply was from June of 2023. And since then, the FCC has updated their maps and has removed 10 locations as being non-serviceable, non-reachable BSLs. They're not places where broadband would be expected to go. So we agree. We tried to go to the FCC website to petition to have those locations removed, but we can't do that because they've already been removed, except that they are still in the GDA, the grant disbursement agreement, because the state runs like a year behind FCC. They are pretty close to making a decision on how we're going to clear through those, and we're awaiting a decision on some financing for 2 very remote locations that we want to reach from the project. Once this is done, we'll have a GDA in place. That's our grant disbursement agreement. We can go from there to sending in our first grant disbursement request, which includes all the spending from 2025 year to date, as well as all the spending from 2024 for both Dryden and Caroline, as well as the milestones, which include the design of the network. So right now, we're aiming to have the GDA finalized by the end of the month, have it get marked up and approved by Empire State Development by the end of June, signed on July 1st, and have our first submission for reimbursement by mid-July. Like I said, I put together a memo this morning with the outline of the timeline, so you'll all have an idea of where we are with this. And from there, we can track to this documented goal for this MIP project. It's a lot of work to get $8.9 million from the state, but I think what we're doing is going to be better than where we were 6 months ago, which would have left us with requirements left to do and about $1.5 million shy of what we needed to do it.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Dave, when you say 24 questionable locations, that's in Dryden and Caroline, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe 5 are in Dryden and 19 are in Caroline. We are now able to serve 1,732 parcels. We've added a few parcels in the last month. That was in late April, early May. As of today, we added a few more, and I'll talk about those on the next slide. As of May 1st, we have 383 paying customers. We've added a few more. I think we're probably right around 400 now, as of this point in the month of May. And the June report for the month of May will show us being over 400 paying customers. which is 10 times more customers than we had the weekend before Memorial Day a year ago. We had 40 customers, now we're at 400. So pretty big year for us. April 3rd, I went door to door with Tracy Monell from Gleeman Tech to talk to some businesses around the village of Dryden. We've had some movement on a few of them, and one of them that door to door activity unlocked was 8 Library Place, which is an apartment building. We have some customers at 8 Library Place who've already signed up and are now using Dryden Fiber. So getting out there, knocking on doors, talking to the business owners, very impactful to just spread the word and have a person, have a voice behind the project. All right, coming up, HR and hiring. We talked about this last month. We're hiring a part-time accounting support team member. I believe it'll be 20 hours a week. We'll be starting interviews next week with this person. Amanda has been screening some candidates. Looks like there's a few that could be a good fit for us. They're going to help with a lot of this MIP reporting, as well as just all the dealing we have to do with all the invoicing, all the billing. As we have 10 times more customers, there's a little bit more work in the accounting department. We expect that to continue to grow. We probably could still be on track to hit our 1,000 customer goal by the end of the year, which is just going to be a lot more administrative work. As well as an increase in desire from the state to ask us for reporting on finances. The other hiring is a part-time marketing. This will be 10 hours a week at $25 an hour, just to help out with some door-to-door sales in some dense neighborhoods, just going door-to-door, putting on door hangers, talking to residents, doing some help with sign management. We have about 75 signs out there, as well as events and getting our Dryden Fiber posters and around the community. So it's a little bit of help in the summer. And that job description is with civil service. We should have it hopefully posted by June 1st. The last item under HR and hiring is for DigSafe. We were relying on Hunt for DigSafe management. We didn't know we were doing that, but they were monitoring all DigSafe for Dryden Fiber. We have about 40 miles underground, mostly under the rail trail. Where the ring is, that's mostly where no one's really doing any digging, because it's all on our own property. However, there is some of the project that is underground in other parts of the town besides the rail trail. Whenever there's a DigSafe request anywhere in the 94 square miles, we get called as a utility. Right now, Rick Young is handling all those inbounds. He knows generally where we are, so he can say no, there's no Dryden Fiber there. But where there's ever a gray area or where he definitely knows we are, we're supposed to send someone out there to mark and say, here's where the Dryden Fiber is. We've then been passing it on to Syracuse Utilities to go on site and mark where the underground work is. It's not really Rick's job to do that. It's not very efficient for him to do that and have to give him the map. So we're working with trying to find one company. I found one that's based in Lansing. This is one of the things that they do. They're familiar with Dryden Fiber. I'm going to meet with them next week to go over the project, give them an idea of where we are. For that relationship to work, we'll have a contract with them. They'll do weekly monitoring of DigSafe requests. And if there are any requests that come in that need to be marked, we have to send someone to put flags out or paint, depending on where it is. We'll have this resource one town away. We can come and do that. And it will take it away from having Rick, relying on Rick to do it. And we'll also have to work with that person in our engineering team. So as we continue to build, that person will have the updated maps to know where the underground work is. Okay, that's it on HR and hiring. Any questions on DigSafe's a subcontractor? It's not a part-time or full-time. It'll just be basically on demand for DigSafe work. Construction updates. We did finish the splicing on Route 366. This is between the FH Fox Bridge and Route 13. The south side of 366 has been unserved by Dryden Fiber. The north side of the road has been served due to backing up against the rail trail. So this is now going to allow us to service both sides of Route 366 from the FH Fox Bridge where the trail crosses, where the fiber crosses 366, and then east all the way to Route 13. We also finished the splicing on West Main Street. There's a couple of yellow blocks west of Hilton to Springhouse, and then north on Springhouse. And that finishes the western half of the village. We still have to do a little bit on North Road, a little bit on South, a little bit on Mill. And the village will be done, I hope, by the end of the summer. Next week, we'll be doing Scenic Way and Chelsea Circle and splicing, get those finished up and have that part of the map turn green, maybe by the end of next week or early the week after. That finishes almost everything in the Yellow Barn and Ferguson area. So it'll be continuous from where Ferguson hits Route 38 in the village of Dryden all the way to Yellow Barn Road, and Yellow Barn Road from Bear Circle all the way up to the top of the hill. Yeah.
So if we're on the south side of Route 366, does that give us access to 1061, that new development, and eventually the housing development that's going in next to where the old plantations was, and
Yes.
potentially the NYSEG complex, right?
All of the above. I think it ends at the gas station, but that doesn't mean we can't extend that to NYSEG. I'll have to check the maps when they come out. I think tomorrow we'll have the updated KMZs to show which parcels are really covered by this. The verbal from the splicing team was 366 from Varna to 13.
I had started that conversation with NYSEG about a year ago about our service.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, we'll quite have them surrounded, but we do have them from Pinckney Road to Brewers across the street, and then now on the same side of the street. Crossing Route 13 has been a big burden, a big challenge going over Route 13. So now that we're coming in from the other side, it should be a lot easier to connect NYSEG.
So are we using the FH Fox Bridge, or do we go under? Did you?
I believe the fiber goes underground and then right across the bridge. That's where the line is.
It goes across on the bridge.
Yeah.
Oh.
Buried, but it's on the bridge. Any other questions about construction? Starting to pick up a little bit now that we've kind of let Vantage do their work over the last couple of months of assessing where things were. It seems like a long time, but ultimately they started work in person on February 24th. So from then until April 24th or so, 2 months, complete assessment of everything we had, complete assessment of all of the plans that were in place, all the permitting for both Dryden and Caroline, looking at every single telephone pole inside every handhole. They're not manholes, they're hand size, so they're called handholes across all of Dryden, walking along where the fiber is, looking at all the pops. So it seems like like I said, it seems like a long time, but it's in about 2 months, which for the size that we are is about right to get everything back together to do this reset the right way. Next couple items, Josh Breitbart, who's the senior VP at Empire State, he's basically the director. He leads Connect All office. He's asked if he could come to town. He first early this morning he said Tuesday or Thursday. Then around 5 o'clock he said, "How about Wednesday?" So sometime next week he'll be here. I think he's going to want to see what we've done so far. Perhaps see our central office, see some of the pops, visit town hall. Maybe see some of these multi-dwelling units. We're working up what the agenda will look like. And as it gets nailed down as far as the day and what he wants to see, I'll reach out to the town board. I know Jason and Dan want to be part of this because they're on the broadband committee, and see if we can spend some time together with Josh next week. The next item, we drafted a proposal based on last week's conversation about this INHS project in Varna. It's going to be good to go tomorrow morning to INHS. Thank you for your time last week on discussing how we would implement this and how we could service these customers, and if they decided to upgrade, how that would work. I feel really good about it. I think we're putting together a really competitive package. And they are more focused on bulk rate than necessarily a bake-off between us and a competitor. Now, they're going to pay a flat fee for every single unit to use the service, whether they do or not. We hope everyone uses it, gets the value of it, and that some of them do upgrade. But they could pick both us and another provider, and we could both be in there. That's possible too.
They could have, or have they decided?
They have not decided yet. But they could do both. I think because we're a nonprofit and INHS is a nonprofit and they're local and we're local, that helps us in the conversation about the decision. But even with that, they might say, great, we want the fiber, but we know some of our tenants are going to want cable TV. They're going to want telephone without using voice over IP. So we're going to want both. We'll know more really soon because they want to make a decision as construction is going to start on this project in August.
Just to clarify, I mean, we could offer any of these streaming services through Dryden Fiber. I mean, people want television, they could get anything from, Peacock to PS.
As apps.
Yes, I mean, we have, like I said, 400 customers that are using some combination of a few of them are using Spectrum for phone or for cable, but many people are using some kind of voice over IP service for phone, and many people are using YouTube TV for local TV. We have an article on DrydenFiber.com about how to switch to Dryden Fiber and what to do about things like phone and local TV. Honestly, I don't know if I want to say it, but I don't think I've had any of our customers say, I wish I could get my phone through you. Like we're missing that, or I'm missing local TV. They think they figured out a way to either not do it or to use internet-based service.
I should.
Most people just say it's 4 times faster and it's half the price. So I wish I had switched a year earlier. That's the most common message. The next bullet is we are estimating right now a groundbreaking in the town of Caroline for October 1st. We're looking at the schedule for where we are with planning and pull permits for the Caroline part of the project. So sometime this fall, after summer, we'll do that groundbreaking in the Caroline part of the project. And finally, I just remember this, the team from Dryden Fiber, at least me, I'm not sure who else, will be participating in next month's Dryden Dairy Day Parade. We will not be in the park with a booth. That has been sold out for a little while, but we were able to get in. I think as of yesterday or Tuesday, there were still about 8 spots left in the parade. Not sure if that's still true, but we do have a spot. We can have, from what I read, as many vehicles as we want. So we'll have at least one. We'll put some Dryden Fiber magnets on them. We'll hand out postcards, stickers, and see what other things we can get together in the next month. That is on Saturday, June 14th. The parade's at 9:30. People can start meeting at 8 o'clock to line up. And it's just a walk from Empire right down the street, Empire Livestock West, and then around the corner, I think from Lewis to Montgomery.
And any of us are welcome to join. Is that what you're saying?
Town board's welcome to join Dryden Fiber in the parade, as well as the Public Broadband Committee and any of our vendors. I'm going to see if we can get one of the trucks from one of our vendors to participate for a few hours that day.
Cool.
The lineup's at 8:30, did you say?
Website says the lineup starts at 8. I think generally 8:30 is probably okay. Early in that week, so sometime around June 9th or 10th, they'll give the lineup. So we'll know where we are, the position of the vehicles in the order.
That's very well ordered.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do it every year. We do it every year.
Yep.
Never miss it.
It was a huge month. A lot of stuff is coming up for May and June.
All right, cool. Yeah, thanks, Dave.
Thank you all.
Yeah, and there's the community meeting tomorrow too. Yeah, broadband
Yeah,
committee.
there is a Dryden Public Broadband Committee meeting tomorrow at 10:30. You can come in person to the Caldwell Room and join me live, or you can do it by Zoom. The information is on Town of Dryden website.
Yep. Right. Okay. See any county folks here? So we've got a couple of resolutions to go through. First one is a resolution to proclaim the week of May 18th through the 24th. It's Emergency Medical Services Week. Where is it? Yeah, there we go.
Who brought this to our attention? Is this you?
Yeah, well, I think Bill Ackroyd forwarded it to us. So anyway, I would like to move this for adoption.
Oh, second.
The person already done that.
Yes.
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 Yes. Right.
I've never made these.
Yeah.
And,
In the newsletter, right? Or did we?
It was.
yeah. Right, and then the next one is to amend the Cortland Road Sewer District 2025 sewer rate. It's SS3. The village raised their rates, so we have to raise ours to track that, or else we're using fund balance to make it up. But we're gonna do this in 2 increments instead of just one, because the village's jump was pretty substantial. So I'll move this. I'll just share it too.
How much are they going up?
Yeah, it did. Hang on. If I could find it. Let's see. The village. Yeah, it was 70.62 and now that's for the first 1,000 gallons. Now it's 88.28.
See it?
Yeah,
So about $10.
and there,
Yeah, but that's not our.
yeah, that's the village's the.
Okay.
Hold on. Yeah, the minimum didn't change, so the minimum, so it's our old rates were 7 point for 1,000 to 15,000 gallons, 736, it's going up to 804. Then it was, I'm just gonna go down the line, it was 1057. It's going to 1141, there's 1137 going to 1241. 1218 going to 1315.
How far up does that go?
Goes up to 300,000. It's a 10.
No, how far does the sewer
Oh,
just go up Cortland Road?
TC3, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the village increased their rate 7%, so
It primarily affects the trailer park and C3.
and some of the, yeah, in the high school and some other businesses up that way. So, hey, I'll move that.
Second.
Councilperson Vargas Mendon.
Yes.
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 Yes. Right, then there is a resolution to. Authorize a distribution of funds to the Community Housing Development Fund for. Ithaca Neighborhood Housing, Freeze Road. Apartments.
Moving.
Yep.
Second.
And this is the town's contribution to that
Yeah,
fund.
So,
we already committed to.
Yep, this is the actual resolution to disperse the funds.
Councilperson Vargas Mendon.
yes.
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 Yes,
Yes. I
whether they take Dryden Fiber or not.
think they'll take it.
We don't want to quit pro quo.
No.
I'm just affirming. Our hands are clean.
All right.
Excuse me, Ray, will you send the resolution, the past resolution to Sean?
County.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then there's this introduction of a special use permit amendment for the. Application for self-storage. 1400 Dryden Road.
Yeah, the business there, Four Seasons, has been operating. We gave them a special use permit amendment several years ago. They're now wanting to add another building back in there, the size of the last one they added in, 12,700 square feet. It's on the adjacent parcel that they just purchased. So they're looking to amend their permit to expand the operation there. So we just want to set a hearing for the June 19th meeting.
Is this listed in what's the item? Is that 11?
It's not, well, yeah, it's on, you have to navigate to the. I think we need a better way to do this. There needs to be something that just says where the documents are. That, and take us right to the project review, because the way it's, I have to go through a bunch of things and it's.
Yeah.
This is on-
Jason, if you look on the documents page, you click on where it says 1400 Dryden Road documents. Do you see that? It's above the documents on the website.
Right around the planning department.
It'll take you right to all the documents. No, right on the calendar where I have all the documents listed.
Uh,
Do you see it there?
I don't see where it is, but. That way, I found it on the planning board, the planning department stuff, so. So the supporting documents are already there, they're just, you have to go under projects under review and the planning. The planning department.
That DEC.
Mommy?
Anyway, so I guess you have no other, unless, well. We don't know if the other one we have open will be ready or not.
Yeah, so we could
Set this one for 6 o'clock then,
Yeah,
and then. We'll just see. Then this next piece, is, I think I forwarded you something from the state, Department of DC. They want to add to Hammond Hill State Forest. They're just looking for us to, whether we support it, oppose it, or don't care. It's really what they're looking for.
How much land?
It's 44 acres and it's, I think I'll show on the map. I think it's like right in the middle of it.
Good.
Just for some reason they didn't have it. And it'll, since we do the sales tax offset,
Some people get some money.
it'll still, yeah. It's not gonna affect the tax levy amount at all,
I think it's great.
but it's right in the middle. It's at the, where the, I don't know. The blue box, if you're,
Now, how does that even become available for them to acquire?
What's been,
Whose land was it?
I'm trying to remember.
right, do you know whose land that was?
I don't know the owner's name, no. It's there off a signal tower.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the trails was like right along it.
Great. What do we have to do to give you authorization to sign something?
No, I don't think we don't have to. I mean, if you don't have any comments on this at all. I mean, I can write a letter just saying we support it.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
one word,
And-
great.
Good idea.
Time to go.
Yeah, if we don't respond at all, it's gonna happen anyway.
Yeah.
So. So
Wait, we could have had a representative here if you asked for one. You
What?
wish to have a representative of this department at your town board meeting to answer questions, please don't hesitate to.
I don't have any questions.
I don't know.
Great.
I could always think of something. Chance to talk directly
Well,
to
if you-
the EDC, you're gonna turn that down?
I got other topics for them.
Yeah,
We can use the time for other topics,
but
It's too late now, but
no,
Next
it's
time.
not too late. We still have time, but
We could invite them for the other topics.
some people might ship it and the other thing, talk bridges.
bring the whole crowd.
Yeah. Some other made up office.
Get up in their affairs.
All right. I saw this right letter saying we were
Yeah, I think
supportive.
this is great. We're pro Hammond Hill Forest. More ski trails, please.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then next up, we have the advisory board updates.
You're up, Leo.
Okay.
Guys. Affordable housing.
we have no action during this time. We are continuing conversation about the possibility of applying to the county fund for housing opportunities. And this will be mostly around two studies, so consolidating two studies around the NYSEG area or NYSEG, what is called corridor, and but we're going to have a better idea next month, in our next meeting,
So Conservation Board. So there were a number of topics. Just to make sure are on the radar. One is there was discussion around a desire to have an account, a conservation account that community members could donate to be used for conservation things. They've talked to Amanda about that and have learned that it's a very complex thing to do. I told them there would really need to be a lot of clarity around its purpose. Because if you're asking people to donate money, that you have to really have a clarity on how it would be used. If we were gonna ask Amanda to go through the hoops, lots of hoops that it would take.
Yeah, cause you'd have to be in touch with the comptroller about how to.
Yeah, there really wasn't anything around purpose, other than there's things that have happened over the years that maybe money could have been helpful for. So, we'll TBD on further activity on that. They're working on a submission for the monthly newsletter. There was, much discussion and concern back to DOT around, Chiefy Road, Triangle and activities related to digging adjacent to the roads and then it being backfilled and other things that a local resident may be doing.
Oh, everything's driving.
Yeah. So, much concern about that and interest in knowing what all the legal actions are that have been taken and what the town has done and what the DEC has done, so, and then the other one was there was a report out, I don't know if you were at this, Christine, Ann Clark reported out that she attended a, meeting with the Climate Smart Task Force, because they're looking at the future of that group. Oh, yeah. And there was discussion around whether or not maybe the Climate Smart Task Force and the Conservation Board should somehow combine. So they brought that idea back to the Conservation Board. There was a fairly strong no, from the Conservation Board, saying that the task force is there to take action, but the Conservation Board is there to provide direction and advise. So action should stick with a different group. Okay, interesting. There's an update.
Okay. They're interested in action. They're interested in.
Planning board, we reviewed a bunch of submissions. There's not much to report outside of standard activity on that.
Yeah.
What else I'm missing? It's kind of big. Okay. Oh.
Question, the part of the housing committee, the affordable housing committee structure is has a planning board member. And we haven't had anyone coming to our meetings lately after Craig decided to step out of the committee. So we respectfully ask the planning board to please design somebody,
Okay, I can bring that up. So I can go to the next planning board meeting. But I am gone the first week of June, so.
Okay, so I'll do the first week of June.
If you want to go to the zoning advisory,
First week of June?
yeah,
Okay, you got it.
awesome.
Climate Smart Committee did not meet, or the task force did not meet.
Okay.
Quiet, rail trail. Well, I think we all know the good news about the rail trail.
Yep.
And also a lot of progress that we're making with this NICEAG washed out area that Ray mentioned earlier. Really excited about this Cornell engineering teamwork. I'm sure it's gonna be an award-winning thing that Cornell's really proud of and probably wind up getting in some of their publications over this. So that's pretty exciting. And yeah, I think we're all relieved that this project of the bridge is gonna cost a little less than we expected. What's not to like there?
It's a legit firm, right?
Yeah.
Excellent.
I mean, Ray, we had talked about perhaps doing a resolution tonight, but I take it we didn't get feedback from Paul yet.
Right, they're still evaluating the application packages for responsiveness.
Any idea how long that will take?
At least another week.
Another week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we gonna need a special meeting to vote to get it moving, or, I mean, can we afford to lose a couple weeks?
The Yeah, at this time, I don't know enough to, venture a date for a special meeting. I
Okay.
mean, I suppose I could, as soon as I know something, I'll put that out to the town board and.
I would
if
say
you want to
in the
convene
next few
early.
days, yeah, I
Okay.
probably should. If it's not, I guess we could wait till June.
This time of year, it's. I mean, they're gonna go to construction this year.
Mhm.
Okay, then yeah,
You know.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so when you know more, just let us know.
Okay.
What do you call that process that Urban Anthony's doing right now?
Technical analysis of the bid packages,
Technical analysis. Okay.
the completeness analysis.
Yeah.
Do they actually contact the contractor during that process?
Yeah, if there's any questions about some of their submittals. Yep.
But they've been notified, the contractor's been notified that we're interested in them.
Um,
All
they've been
the-
asked questions,
all
follow-up
the
questions.
President, you know.
Okay, so they can read the writing on the wall kind of thing. Okay. That's interesting.
Okay.
Where are they based? Heard,
Bird?
Yeah, I
I'm
did.
really not sure.
okay.
Right, and then ag committee met last night. The topic was just the zoning rewrite. John Kiefer was there. Pretty much to get feedback on from the committee and about what their you know, concerns were with the phase one part of the zoning rewrite, which is focused on, I think, making it easier to build housing. So they were talking about the density and things like that.
So John was there to brief the ag committee.
Yeah, and also get their feedback on things, so typically, basically the ag community wants, less land regulation, but there's always this, we also don't want people encroaching, but they also want to be able to sell things off when they need to. So it's the same thing that came up literally 10 years ago, so I don't know that it'll change at all, but
They want to
Yeah.
preserve open space, but they don't want rules.
the people who, it basically comes down to like people who want to preserve open space don't actually own the open space, and the folks that do own the open space want to be able to preserve it in the way they preserve it. Without interference from the folks who don't own it. But that's really what came up literally.
So just to share with everybody, this is a little conundrum, but what we asked and what I asked Nan at the last zoning advisory meeting was to examine incentivize zoning so we could offer some carrots to somebody who had a lot of property that wanted to develop it. That maybe they could develop portions as long as they agree to keep the larger areas open. Concentrate development in one clustered area as opposed to one house on 10 acres. If you had 100 acres, you put in 10 houses, could you put them all on 10 acres in one portion, or as opposed to one on every 10-acre parcel?
Yeah.
Just to give you a basic example. And she seemed to think that there are ways to incentivize that style of development. So we're not just telling.
Worked very
people-
well in England and some other
Yeah.
places, so.
So we're trying to pick that lock, and that's all I can say. See, we'll see at the next meeting.
Yep.
Twice.
And then DRYC, so just on Tuesday, Marty got a from CHA. Two different design concepts.
Okay.
So that'll be discussed at the next DRYC meeting, and then they'll work to schedule a public meeting to go over those.
So there was
What's
an
this?
email that went around with it, but it didn't include the attachments.
Yeah, this email I have just was from May 13th. It went from CHA to Marty and Leslie, and then Marty sent it to the whole commission yesterday.
Okay,
So
so I got an email, but it didn't have a
Sorry, I couldn't-
attachment, so.
PHA is the consultant.
And those design be shared with the,
Yeah, I'll just send it to the town board now.
thank you.
So,
bank case, so. They'll be talking about that at the it's next Wednesday.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
And then right now we have citizens privilege, if there's anybody who wants to, you guys, did you have anything you wanted to?
No.
Talk, okay.
Just trying to get, honestly, basically, I've been coming a lot more to just get familiar with everything.
Yep,
Awesome.
Well. You'll probably be seeing more as the years go by. As- I'll say I do.
Is that a threat or a promise?
Should bring Amanda.
Is it a threat or a promise?
yeah,
I don't take threats lightly, it's always just a promise.
yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
I got a question before we break. So if an area wanted to create a water district, say there was a neighborhood and there was interest in a water district. some
No.
do, what goes into that? If
A lot.
a lot.
Yeah,
It starts with. A map planning report that the town pays for.
yeah,
And then, if you decide to move forward, there's a vote of the property owners that are included in those districts.
Yep.
And there's permission from the state comptroller. It's a long process.
And we need to do it well because the current water district that was started privately is, I think, gonna really hit us financially hard at some point in the future. And so
which,
the Yellow Barn Water District is gonna be
That is-
expensive.
that is ours,
It's ours now, but it was
Yeah.
originally not, we took it over, right?
yeah,
So it's, if we approve them, we need to make sure that they're done right, so that if we ever adopt them in the future, we don't end up in the same situation, because that Yellow Barn District is gonna be very expensive for the town at some point.
it's expensive for the landowners over there.
Yeah, we don't.
I mean, the whole town's a whole doesn't pay for it.
But just, is there a formula? I guess my question is when, like a certain density of houses. That we start to think, oh, okay, there are 35 houses, this is when we start thinking.
Well, first thing I have to buy is so it's long.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's, it comes for anything, there are some thresholds about cost.
And shared. Yeah, I wouldn't think you'd
Yeah.
wanna do it for 10 homes, but if you had 30 and a potential for 60. You know. Just throwing numbers out. So something to think about when we talk about concentrating development. And, you know, to preserve space.
Yep.
That seems like, you know, infrastructure guides development in so many cases.
Should.
In my
Should.
opinion, there have been a couple of map plan reports prepared because there was interest.
Yeah.
But when it came down to the projected cost. They decided that they wanted to.
Okay. That's the answer I needed.
All the guidance I can give you.
But the town pays for the net planning report
Yeah.
and then the people in the district. Take that from.
Yeah, I got some of them involved.
Yeah, I think the last one was still up there in Ellis Hollow. Yeah, and then there was somebody a few years ago who actually wanted to try it again, and they looked at that report and everything, and then they saw the cost and backed off. I mean, the cost that from, because it was what? It was like 2005 or something. I think it was 2005 when there was because the meeting was at the Varna Fire Company.
All right, now I have to clarify. So are we required to prepare a map planning report on our own dime?
I can answer that
Yeah.
question legally, but
Yeah. So I think it started off with a petition. And then,
They petition us.
yeah, there was
To
that
prepare.
one did, I think, so.
I'm including the property. You serve, you make it.
Absolutely. And the potential for growth, I would think.
Well, you want to include that, those parcels. When you first form it, because changing the boundaries or forming an additional district and. Again, a lot.
Yeah, and then the only other choice is having out of district users, and then that's a whole other process. Yeah,
And how much are we talking about for map planning?
I don't know, what did it cost to do just for the reports for like the repairs on the Varna water district?
Oh, I don't know, that's in the tens of thousands. I would think, you know, what we got for that NICEAG study, the focus area at NICEAG, that was a $3,500 report. I don't know if it's.
That was our contribution, the county paid for some of that.
No, we split.
The one, to Leonardo, it was at least $7,000.
Okay,
We paid for it.
3,500 was our portion.
Yeah,
Does the meter,
it may have been more, but we only paid 3,500.
Yeah.
So guess.
Yeah, that's my gut feeling is saying. One other question while we're here, we were talking about going after CDBG or the mobile home park on Hanshaw. Is that still our plan of action?
It's in discussion right now. I've just met with Nate and Dondi today, and we're meeting with the Cook Properties tomorrow. Because there's a lot of different options to go as either district extension or an out of district user, whether they combined water and sewer projects together, because they have issues on both the sewer and waterfront.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get the package that makes the most sense going forward, and it might be a multi-year that really doesn't use this year's CDBG, but uses next year's.
If there's a
Yeah.
CDBG program,
Yeah.
because like we gotta get a letter. I mean, there was a letter that came in from Toma talking about how that program, there's discussions of that program just going away.
Yeah, I would think so too. But there's also EFC funding. So I got a note today about EFC is accepting applications for 60 million in green resiliency grants. Some of this funding could be used for water and sewer.
Yeah.
Do you get those flyers as well?
I don't, but I think once we establish a best path forward for this, I think I
I'll
probably have a
send you
meeting
this
with
and-
EFC, DEC, HDR, everybody at the table and see who, rural water, and see who has the appetite for funding this.
Okay. That seems like something we should do. So
Yeah.
I'll send it to you. Just so it's off my conscience. No. All right, that's all I got.
Okay, and then I got a call yesterday from Mike Parker, who wanted to set up that meeting. We could talk about,
Oh, good.
you know, their increased calls and things, so we need to set one up with both WB Strong and Varna, so that we can just get ahead of that before the end of June.
Save some of that. If anything comes up unexpected.
Well, we had told both member Varna and Freeville about it, because of the increased volume, we'd
hear them out.
hear them out about how much extra, so we just need to start scheduling meetings with them both,
Okay.
okay,
so that we can allocate that come either June or July.
good idea.
So if like, I don't know who. And I know Christina, you weren't interested in that too. I mean, maybe, because you wouldn't be able to do the Varna one, but maybe you and Christina could talk with Mike, and then then me and you could talk with Varna.
All right.
But no decisions are gonna be made except for the whole group, right?
Yeah, it's just to get the information. If more than two of us meet, it's a public meeting. I mean, we could also do a public meeting, it doesn't matter, but. It's sometimes just quicker to just have two of us as a subcommittee go in, talk with them, and then. I know we also want to probably get a separate meeting with the three departments.
And we need to do this before June, or can we do this in mid-June? So really.
I mean, just if there's time in the next couple of weeks, if you can just let me know so I can. Or if you two wanna, like, for instance, with Mike, email him and let him know when you guys would be available, and then me and you could email Mason and see how available he is and figure out when.
Yeah.
Just start communicating with him, but then the other meeting, I know we want to set up with all the departments about that, whether or not we get that grant. Do the study.
Do we know, find out about the grant?
I don't know when we'll find out about it. I'll have to ask. Amanda answered last week saying we haven't heard back yet,
Okay.
so,
Made it sound like it was gonna be up soon.
yeah.
And then, what you read through just to stuff.
Yeah,
There's
been a few years. And I haven't been in the ECAPs, I didn't sign stuff at all.
yeah,
Do you guys still look at the same? Do you still look at the calls and make them relative to what apparatus is going out the door? Remember there was we brought it to you guys years ago, or Bill Acker broke it.
yeah,
Where it was X number of dollars for an EMS call and a fire call.
yeah, he did that,
They were so off balance, and I'm not.
yeah,
What you do, I think that was a pretty relative concern.
yeah,
You looked at one person's getting $900 to go out the door with an engine. The other was getting $3,000 to go out the door with an EMS vehicle, which is a light rescue.
yeah,
Whole different risk versus reward, cost and stuff like that. I look at that from a business standpoint, which I know that you guys do. It's a huge difference between a fire call and an EMS call.
yeah, no, we know that, it's just,
I know, I just. And I don't speak more from a taxpayer standpoint, and I really appreciate that you guys take the time to look at that stuff. Because it ultimately affects us, all of us as taxpayers.
yeah,
So, and I used to be self-employed at one point, and so I know sometimes. If we don't continue to keep looking at those little numbers. Then we can lose track of them.
yeah.
Take the bite in the butt, really, I'll defend it.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking there, because like, remember at budget time when we, well, anyway, after when they both agreed to take over the Aetna areas. We had told them that when we. But a few months into it, they'd be able to tell us how much
See the difference.
extra they've been spending or something, so we can compensate them for that. And I think I think Mark said something about, even some of Neptune's calls have gone up a little, little bit.
Our EMS stuff since we started the rescue is up somewhere between 15.
Whether,
18
yeah.
a month.
Yeah, but I don't know if a couple of those, a little bit of that might be in like mutual aid or something with that area or something, but I'm not sure.
Answer that because.
Yeah,
There was a section that I'll just say this, there was a section that. In conversations that we had when this was coming. That I was at the meeting.
yeah, there was a section you used to cover
There
or
was a
something.
section that was gonna be ours. and
Yeah.
Somehow somebody made it so that they were getting the calls.
Yeah,
instead of us.
yeah, he brought that up to me and like, I think a week ago.
Isn't
Yeah.
that decided by the chiefs? Don't the chiefs all get together and decide that?
I think what happened was,
I'll say this, Christine, all Varna, Freeville and Dryden chiefs were all sitting in Varna Station in the chief meeting. And we discussed this because we said, how do we do this? How do we handle this? If this happens? So the conversation was, all right, you take this section, we had a map right there laying on the table and said, you take this, and we'll take that. And that was all agreed upon there at that meeting. And somewhere between that meeting and. Few days or weeks later, somebody decided that they were gonna respond to those calls, that area as well. And the portion that we had was like Kirk Road, the 366 and 13.
Yeah.
That little triangle on Main Street.
I mean, it doesn't just happen. Somebody had to submit paperwork to somebody, so there's a paper.
Somebody, and it hadn't been done by somebody who has the ability to change those response plans.
Yeah.
And notify dispatch to do it this way.
So it's like one of
That
three
wasn't
people.
us.
Yeah.
I'll say
Yeah.
that. One thing I think, try harder things now.
Hmm.
You wanna go step on somebody's toes, you go step on, 'em. I'm not going to. If you understand what I'm saying.
yeah,
Unless somebody calls me out personally, or calls me environmental, then I have to just get one. No, I appreciate that though, thank you.
yeah,
Do you know how much money is being spent on outside training instructors? Because I'm seeing a lot of classes that could be offered for free through the state, but it looks like the 3 departments are paying for it
On average, it's right around 700 or a little more than that.
per class.
Yeah.
And how many classes are, because I'm seeing a lot of classes.
We've got. Our department has. 7 or 8 classes scheduled with outside vendor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of those classes are offered for free though, so I was just wondering. Why?
So
why
what's the state instructors?
Oh, is that the issue?
We don't have any state instructors in the county. And we
They
don't
can
have any
bring-
county instructors,
But they can bring instructors from adjacent counties.
they're not available.
Yeah.
I have been to the town chiefs and I've been to the county chief meetings. And I'll be frank, I beat Doug Borger up
Yeah,
over this stuff. And Doug says, I don't have them. Doug is desperately struggling to find skilled instructors.
yeah, I just feel like if we bring him in to maybe like one of our meetings and explain maybe how important this is to us to, be good stewards of the money, it's like, hey, can you help us out here?
Didn't he, is
He
he
hasn't
the,
been to it.
no, there, I thought, oh, okay, I thought he was one of the ones who like spoke and was saying that.
No.
About the challenge of getting people to be teachers.
It is, it's both levels, very frank, it is. It's a struggle, I'll be honest, I looked at going and doing it. And the amount of time that I'd have to take a week off from work. I get paid. But I have to give up a week of vacation, go to the academy, take the class to become an instructor. And then what suffers? Does my ability to be a volunteer here at Dryden suffer? Because they're gonna want me teaching classes 2-3 nights a week and weekends. And does my personal life get set aside? Does my, my not attentive at work, there's so much, and I honestly, I seriously considered it. The money would be great, and I'm a state employee. What's that do for my state retirement if I do it? It only bolsters that, so it's a plus. But at what cost?
Yeah.
And I look at what I'm doing here locally within our town, in our department, and what I did, work a job. Those, I can effectively do those things. And if we're headed in the direction I think we are as a town for fire departments. I would love to take on the challenge of being the instructor or the training officer for everybody.
I know Connor had mentioned like doing a municipal fire instructor. Program where we would have our own instructors within the town. We
Again,
never finalized it.
there's state requirements.
Yeah,
And I can't get people to go take those classes. I actually set up the principles of instruction classes, what you have to have per state. In order to be an instructor or teach. I struggle to get that class to get enough people in it for Purple to know. Lacey.
yeah.
So it's a struggle, and I hear you. I don't know what the answer is, and I just keep plugging forward and trying to do the best I can, and from our standpoint. I offer up the classes to not just our department, but I make sure the other departments are aware, like RTV is coming up, Rescue Tech Basic.
Yep.
There's the Fire Officer 2 class, that the state's offered 2 of those in their outreach programs, which are already good. But the state, the position, they can't do some of these things at the academy right now, because they're doing a lot of
Right, the
restructuring and remodeling. So they're forced to put stuff out there in the community too.
Yeah.
Well, training is certainly money well spent, so
Oh,
if there was a way to get it for free, that's fantastic, but kudos for getting training.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, let's move, adjourn the meeting and
Thanks, guys.
yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
I'm gonna stop the recording.